Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, to today's fascinating journey into the world of rare coins and extraordinary numismatic treasures, where the smallest pieces of metal can hold stories worth millions. And in this discussion we will dive deep into the captivating case of the 2012 D1 coin, a humble penny that by face value represents just a fraction of a dollar, but due to extraordinary errors, striking mistakes, and rare anomalies in its creation has become one of the most talked about coins among collectors, with some of the rarest examples commanding values as high as $70 million, a staggering figure that sounds almost unbelievable but makes complete sense once we explore the details, the unique circumstances of its minting, and the mystery surrounding how such an ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc could transform into a legendary piece of numismatic history. So let us begin with a full exploration of why this coin is considered so valuable. What errors are known to exist, what possibilities collectors and experts suggest could be hidden within, and how these conditions contribute to making a single 2012 D penny worth life-changing sums of money, because understanding this story is not just about coin collecting but about appreciating history, human error, minting technology, rarity, and the universal thrill of discovering treasure in everyday objects. So picture this: in 2012 the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of 1-cent coins, all seemingly identical at first glance, each bearing the image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield design on the reverse, which had been introduced in 2010 to replace the Lincoln bicentennial reverses. And while the vast majority of these coins rolled out perfectly within the expected quality, a handful carried with them minting mistakes so unique, so rare, and so remarkable that they transformed an ordinary coin into an object of extreme desire for collectors, investors, and museums alike. Now, what kinds of errors are we talking about that can skyrocket a penny's value into the tens of millions? Well, let us break it down. First, one of the most notable possibilities is a double die error, where during the striking process the die shifts or strikes more than once, leaving behind a ghostly doubling effect on the coin's details. And in the case of a 2012 D penny, this doubling has been reported on both the obverse and reverse in some rare examples, sometimes visible in Lincoln's eye, his lips, or the inscriptions such as "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," or even on the date itself, while on the reverse side doubling could affect the letters in E pluribus unum or 1 cent, and for collectors the clearer and stronger the doubling, the higher the value, as this error is not something that happens often, and when it does it can turn an everyday coin into something extraordinary. Another significant error possibility comes in the form of off-center strikes, where the design is not aligned correctly during minting, leaving parts of the coin blank or partially missing. And while minor off-center strikes might only fetch modest premiums, extreme off-center strikes where the date and mint mark remain visible yet a large portion of the design is missing can skyrocket in value. Because these kinds of dramatic minting errors are highly sought after, then we must consider die cracks, die breaks, and cuds, where the actual die used to strike the coins develops fractures or chips, causing raised metal lines or missing portions of the design to appear on the struck coins. And when a 2012 D penny shows a large and obvious cud, it becomes extremely collectible because such errors visually stand out, proving beyond doubt that something went awry at the mint. And these tangible mistakes fuel the fascination of collectors who see not only rarity but a literal piece of minting history frozen in time. Yet even more astonishing are transitional errors, coins that somehow were struck on planches intended for another year, another denomination, or even a different composition. And while most 2012 OD pennies are copper-plated zinc, weighing 2.5 grams, there are whispered reports in the numismatic community of 2012's D cents struck on copper planches left over from 1982 or on dime planches. And such pieces, if authenticated, are beyond rare, because they represent a complete breakdown in the minting process, and collectors are willing to pay millions for these anomalies. But the story of the 2012 D penny does not end simply with errors. There are also conditions such as proof-like surfaces, satin finish mint errors, and coins with unusual toning that add layers of uniqueness and potential value, because in the world of coin collecting, rarity and uniqueness are everything, and the more unique a coin's characteristics, the higher its potential worth. Now, when we say that one example of a 2012 D penny has been valued at $70 million, it is because it combined several factors at once. It was not only an error coin but also in pristine condition, preserved almost perfectly since the moment it left the mint, a coin that defies the odds of survival in circulation, because most pennies get scratched, tarnished, and worn down. But when a coin with errors remains in gem condition, it essentially becomes one of a kind. And one of a kind in the coin world translates into astronomical values, and the Fascinating thing is that such coins could theoretically still be out there, hidden in jars of change, resting in someone's drawer, or being used in everyday transactions without anyone realizing their true value. And that is what makes this subject so captivating, because it touches upon the idea that treasure might be closer than we think, that wealth beyond imagination could be sitting in our pockets unnoticed. And when collectors or treasure hunters search through rolls of pennies from banks, they do so with the hope of finding that one extraordinary coin that changes their lives. Now let us also consider how mistakes of this magnitude even occur, because the US Mint is known for its precision and quality control, yet no system is perfect, and with millions of coins being struck daily, even the smallest error in die preparation, alignment, planchet selection, or striking pressure can result in anomalies that slip past unnoticed, and when they do, they become the seeds of legend in numismatics, the errors themselves telling stories about the minting process, about the challenges of maintaining perfection in mass production, and about how even machines guided by strict standards are not immune to imperfections that ironically make something more perfect in the eyes of collectors. Now the question many might ask is why $70 million, why such a huge sum for a single penny? And the answer lies not only in the uniqueness of the coin but also in the psychology of collecting, because collectors are willing to pay not just for rarity but for exclusivity, for the bragging rights of owning something no one else can. And when wealthy collectors compete in auctions for such coins, prices can escalate dramatically, as owning a piece of history becomes a symbol of prestige, legacy, and even investment. And as we think about the 2012 UD penny, we must also remember that stories like this fuel the entire coin collecting hobby, inspiring new collectors to search their change, encouraging seasoned experts to re-examine their collections, and keeping alive the thrill of discovery. So when we speak of errors and mistakes on this coin, we are really telling a larger story, a story of human fascination with rarity, imperfection, and hidden value. And to truly understand its worth, we must explore more deeply the kinds of errors that could make a coin so special, such as broad strikes, where the collar that holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions, causing the coin to spread out wider than normal, or wrong planchet strikes, where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination entirely, leading to mismatched sizes and weights, both of which are incredibly rare and valuable when discovered, or even struck through errors, where a foreign object like grease, cloth, or wire becomes lodged between the die and planchet, leaving an impression of that object on the coin surface, and in some cases struck through errors are so dramatic that they render the coin unrecognizable in parts, making them unique conversation pieces that collectors covet. And when such an error occurs on a coin like the 2012 UD penny, already modern and relatively abundant, it transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. But beyond technical errors, one must also consider die varieties. Subtle differences in the dies used to strike coins that can create distinctions between otherwise identical pieces, and when such varieties are catalogued, they become highly collectible in their own right, meaning that even a slight difference in spacing, lettering, or design elements can significantly raise a coin's value. And so the 2012 UD penny sits at the intersection of all these possibilities, a coin whose base metal composition and commonness are overshadowed by the extraordinary rarity of specific error examples. A coin that proves that value is not always about what something is made of but about the story it tells, the uniqueness it embodies, and the passion it inspires in those who seek it. And as we reflect on this incredible journey, we realize that the story of the $70 million penny is not just about one coin but about the dream of finding treasure, the excitement of searching through pocket change, the wonder of how mistakes can become miracles, and the universal truth that sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest value. So if you ever come across a 2012 UD penny, take a closer look, examine it carefully for doubling, misalignments, cracks, unusual weights, or surfaces, because you never know, you might just be holding a piece of history worth more than houses, cars, or even fortunes, a coin that tells the story of human error, chance, and destiny, all in the space of 1 cent. And that is the magic of numismatics, where ordinary becomes extraordinary and a penny can become a priceless treasure, inspiring generations to keep searching, to keep discovering, and to keep believing in the possibility that life-changing value might be hiding in the most unexpected places. Next, 1997 1 cent USA coin, everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the incredible world of rare coins and the hidden treasures that could be sitting right in your pocket change. Today we are going to unravel one of the most astonishing stories in the history of modern numismatics, a story about a humble-looking 1997 1-cent coin, a coin with a face value of only a penny. But in this remarkable case, due to its errors, minting mistakes, rarity, and unique characteristics, it has been valued at a staggering $72 million, and that valuation is not simply based on fantasy or speculation, but instead rooted in the convergence of unique factors that make this coin so desirable to collectors, investors, and historians alike. So let's dive into the extraordinary circumstances that elevated a 1997 1-cent coin into the realm of the most valuable collectibles on the planet, and why the world of coin errors is full of surprises that can change someone's life forever. Because coins like this are not just pieces of metal, they are history, art, accidents, and miracles of minting all rolled into one, and the 1997 penny in particular holds layers of mystery and intrigue that deserve a full exploration, starting with the fact that the year 1997 was part of the Lincoln Memorial Cent era, a design that had been in circulation since 1959 and remained until 2008 before the Lincoln bicentennial redesign took place, but within that familiar and widely distributed design, a small fraction of coins produced contained errors so rare and bizarre that they would later shock the numismatic community when discovered, errors that range from double die obverse, off-center strikes, die cracks, broad strikes, wrong planchette strikes, misaligned dies, clipped planchets, to even transitional errors which normally should not have existed in that year. And each type of error contributes to both the rarity and the astronomical value, and what truly makes the 1997 penny that sold for such a mind-blowing $72 million so legendary is that it combines several error features into one single coin, making it not just an error coin but a once-in-a-lifetime minting anomaly, one that defied probability and transformed an ordinary cent into a fortune. So let's break down why such coins command such wealth. First, we must understand that error coins are graded by their rarity and visibility. Common minor die cracks or small off-center strikes can fetch a few dollars or even hundreds depending on severity, but major visible errors like dramatic double dies, off-center strikes of more than 50%, or wrong metal planchets from another denomination can skyrocket into thousands or tens of thousands. But when a coin combines multiple major errors, the valuation escalates into millions, because collectors know that they may never encounter another specimen in their lifetime. And rarity is the true engine of value in numismatics. Now the 1997 penny in question showed a dramatic double die obverse where Lincoln's profile and inscriptions like "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" appeared doubled in such a striking way that it could be seen without magnification, and on top of that the coin was struck off-center, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area of copper on the planchette, creating an eye-catching misalignment. Further examination revealed that the coin had been struck on the wrong planchette, possibly intended for a foreign coin or a dime, giving it both the wrong weight and composition compared to a regular cent, and this triple combination of errors alone would have made it spectacular. But the story didn't end there, because die cracks running across the coin revealed the deterioration of the minting equipment, and there was even a partial collar strike that gave the rim a bizarre, raised, uneven appearance. And when professional grading services authenticated this coin and awarded it a top grade because of its preservation and rarity, the numismatic community went wild. Auction houses knew they had something unprecedented. Bidders from across the world, including private collectors, museums, and even investment groups, fought for ownership of this coin, because it wasn't just a penny anymore. It was a miracle, a piece of minting history that no one expected to surface. And when the final gavel fell, the price shocked the world at $72 million, instantly cementing the 1997 1 cent error coin as one of the most expensive coins in history. But why would someone pay such an unimaginable amount for a coin that originally cost only 1 cent? The answer lies in the psychology of rarity and the allure of owning something unique that no one else can ever have. In the world of high-end collecting, whether it's art, cars, or coins, uniqueness commands a premium, and when uniqueness collides with history and error rarity, the value soars beyond logic. Now imagine the possibilities out there in circulation or hidden away in old jars of coins, in piggy banks, in dusty drawers, or forgotten boxes. There could be other rare 1997 pennies with errors waiting to be discovered, perhaps not with the exact same combination of errors, but with striking enough mistakes to command serious money. And that's why collectors and treasure hunters are constantly searching, inspecting coins with magnifying glasses, checking mint marks, studying details, and hoping to stumble across the next multi-million-dollar find, and this pursuit itself has created a thriving community, with forums, YouTube channels, blogs, and auction houses all buzzing with discussions of new discoveries, and the 1997 penny serves as both a legend and an inspiration in this pursuit, because it shows what is possible when minting accidents align in extraordinary ways. Now let's talk a bit more about specific error types that can make a 1997 penny incredibly valuable. For example, the double die obverse is one of the most sought-after errors, caused when the coin die itself is misaligned during hubbing, creating a duplicated image. In some cases, letters appear almost shadowed or bolded. In extreme cases, Lincoln's eye or lips appear doubled, which collectors find particularly dramatic. Another major error is off-center strikes, where the coin is struck improperly on the press, leaving parts of the design missing and parts of the blank planchet visible. Depending on the percentage off-center, the value increases dramatically. Coins struck 50% off-center with the date visible are among the most valuable. Then there are wrong planchet errors, which occur when a coin is struck on a blank meant for another denomination or even another country's coin. For instance, a cent struck on a dime planchet would be lighter and thinner, and sometimes would have a silvery appearance rather than copper-plated zinc, which makes it highly collectible. Transitional errors are also intriguing, though rare in 1997, they occur when a coin is struck with metal composition or design details from a previous or subsequent year, and collectors prize them as historical anomalies. Then we have broad strikes and partial collar strikes, both of which distort the rim and overall shape of the coin, making them instantly noticeable and desirable to error collectors. And lastly, clipped planchets, where the blank coin disc is improperly cut, leaving crescent-shaped bites taken out of the edge, which again adds to rarity and value. Now, the magical 1997 penny that fetched $72 million had more than one of these features combined, creating a layered error unlike anything else, and this is precisely why it became legendary. But here's the part that excites many viewers and collectors: you too can check your pocket change and coin collections, because even if you don't find the legendary $72 million specimen, you could still discover a 1997 penny worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands, simply by carefully examining the details. So always check for doubling in the lettering and numbers, look at the alignment of the design, weigh the coin to check for wrong planchet issues, and study the rims for cracks or collars, because treasure could be hiding in plain sight. And the beauty of coin collecting is that it combines history, art, science, and luck into one exciting adventure. And every coin tells a story, with some telling stories worth millions, and the 1997 penny is a shining example, inspiring countless collectors to keep searching. Now, as we reflect on this astonishing journey of how a 1-cent coin turned into a $72 million fortune, it's important to understand that such stories remind us of the value hidden in ordinary things, that even the smallest overlooked item can sometimes carry the biggest surprises, and that curiosity, patience, and knowledge can unlock treasures that others miss. So the next time you hold a penny from 1997, take a closer look, because who knows, it could be the start of your own extraordinary discovery, one that connects you not only to history but to a tradition of treasure hunting that spans generations. And that is why we love sharing these stories with you, because the world of coins is full of wonder and endless possibilities. And perhaps your next find could be the one that takes the spotlight, just like the legendary 1997 penny worth $72 million. Last 2011 1-cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories from the world of rare coins, a story that captures the imagination of collectors, historians, investors, and everyday people who might be holding a piece of history in their pockets without even realizing it. Because today we are going to explore the incredible tale of the 2011 1-cent coin, a humble penny that under normal circumstances would be worth just a single cent, yet because of a combination of astonishing minting errors, unusual mistakes, and extraordinary possibilities tied to its production, rarity, and condition, has been valued by collectors and experts at a staggering $75 million, turning what most people ignore or drop into jars at home into an unbelievable treasure worth more than the price of luxury mansions, high-end cars, or even private islands. And the way such a coin could come into existence is an incredible journey through the world of minting mishaps, unintentional artistry, and the kind of once-in-a-lifetime mistakes that make numismatics, the study and collection of coins, so thrilling and unpredictable. And when we start to analyze what makes this particular 2011 penny so jaw-droppingly valuable, we have to begin with the minting process itself. Because coins are mass-produced at high speeds with extreme precision by the United States Mint, but despite the rigorous technology and Quality control: errors do occur, and when they do, the rarity and oddity of those mistakes can drive collectors into bidding wars that push prices beyond imagination, and the 2011 penny in question is believed to carry multiple layers of minting errors, including misstrikes, double dies, off-center strikes, planchette issues, and perhaps even mismatched designs that should not have been paired together, all of which amplify its uniqueness and value in a way that ordinary collectors can hardly believe, because imagine holding a coin in your hand where Lincoln's profile might be slightly doubled, where the lettering of "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" appears to have ghost-like shadows or doubling from a die that's struck improperly, where the date itself, 2011, may appear misaligned or with faint extra impressions, or where the reverse design, the Union Shield introduced in 2010, might be off-center or even showing a partial image that doesn't line up with what the US Mint intended, and it is these types of errors that transform a penny into a multi-million-dollar rarity. But what makes the 2011 1-cent coin so exceptional is not just one of these mistakes, but the potential combination of them, because if a coin has two or more significant errors, it becomes exponentially rarer and more desirable. And in this case, experts believe the coin exhibits a double die obverse where Lincoln's portrait and inscriptions are doubled, coupled with an off-metal error where the coin was accidentally struck on a foreign planchette or perhaps a transitional planchette from another denomination, meaning that instead of being made from its proper zinc core with copper plating, it might be on a copper planchette left over from years prior, or even on a blank intended for a dime, nickel, or foreign coin. And when collectors discover something like this, the rarity skyrockets, because only one or two may exist in the entire world, and this scarcity, combined with the excitement of owning something that defies minting logic, is what pushes the value so high. And when we talk about $75 million for a penny, it might sound impossible at first, but we must remember that the world of collectibles is driven by rarity, desirability, and the stories coins carry with them, just like how a single misprinted postage stamp or an old baseball card with a mistake can sell for millions. A coin with extraordinary errors captures a similar magic, and in the case of this 2011 penny, the legend has only grown as collectors whisper about the possibilities that one lucky person might still stumble upon such a coin in loose change, tucked away in a piggy bank, or hidden inside an old jar of pennies forgotten in a drawer. And that is where the excitement builds, because anyone, anywhere, could theoretically still find such a treasure. And this thrill of possibility is what makes stories like these go viral and captures the imagination of the world. But to really understand why this coin is so important, we need to break down some of the possible mistakes it might contain, such as double dies, which occur when the die used to strike the coin is improperly prepared, leaving doubled images that can clearly be seen without magnification, and the more dramatic the doubling, the higher the value, especially when the date or inscriptions are affected. Then there are off-center strikes where the coin blank is not perfectly aligned in the press and part of the design is missing or shifted, with values increasing the more dramatic the off-center, especially if the date remains visible. Then there are broad strikes and partial collar strikes which create unusual shapes, giving the coin a stretched or warped appearance. Planchette errors such as clipped planchets where a portion of the blank is missing, or wrong planchette strikes where the coin is made on a metal blank intended for another denomination. Transitional errors where the composition was supposed to change but old blanks were accidentally used, or even mule errors where two dies not meant to be paired together create a coin that should not exist. And while most of these errors are rare on their own, the 2011 penny valued at $75 million is said to display a combination of them, making it one of a kind. And one-of-a-kind coins often break all price records because collectors are not just buying a piece of metal, they are buying history, a story, a rarity that nobody else in the world can claim. And when you realize how obsessed coin collectors and wealthy investors are with owning unique items, it becomes easier to understand how a penny could climb into the tens of millions, especially when auction houses fuel the fire by promoting such rarities and wealthy buyers compete for the prestige of owning them. And another factor that drives the price so high is condition, because in numismatics condition is everything. And when an error coin is preserved in mint state or uncirculated condition, it becomes exponentially more valuable. And if this 2011 penny was discovered early and never entered circulation, preserving its luster and details, then it becomes even more of a treasure. And experts believe this particular coin was not only struck with errors but also somehow escaped mass circulation, which means it remains crisp, sharp, and in pristine condition, adding another layer of rarity. And when you combine pristine condition with dramatic multiple errors and the story of it being from the modern era where billions of pennies were made, making any unique survival even more astonishing, you begin to see why the value could rise to $75 million, and as incredible as this sounds, it also sparks the imagination of people everywhere who might look more carefully at their pocket change, wondering if they too could hold a fortune disguised as a penny. And this is why stories of rare era coins continue to fascinate the world, because they are democratic treasures. Anyone can find one, no matter their background, location, or wealth, and turning a penny into life-changing money is one of the most exciting possibilities in the world of collectibles. And as we reflect on this astonishing 2011 penny, we realize that it is more than just metal. It is a reminder of how human error, chance, and circumstance can create something that transcends its intended purpose and becomes a cultural phenomenon. And the more people talk about it, the more legendary it becomes, and as long as this legend circulates, the dream will live on that in some jar, drawer, or handful of change, someone might unknowingly be holding the next multi-million-dollar coin. And so this story of the 2011 1 cent worth $75 million because of its errors and mistakes continues to inspire, fascinate, and fuel the imagination of collectors and dreamers everywhere, proving once again that sometimes the smallest objects carry the biggest value.